Aloha and welcome to A Word with Ward. I'm Representative Gene Ward, and today we're going to have a word with Frank Delima. Frank, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Nice a pleasure and an honor, not only because of what you've been for I think probably the social fluid between the races, the ethnicities, and the cultures of Hawaii. You've done a lot in education, so we've got a very brief time to go through a lot of stuff, but I thought, could we start out with a bit of the background? Where was Frank Delima born? How many different racial lines you got running through you? I know there's a multiple because your humor reflects that.
Yeah. I was born 11:05 at night. You want the beginning?
Well, in the beginning.
St. Francis Hospital. And my mom's name is Pearl, my dad, Frank. And I'm Frank Jr., Frank Wilcox Napua Kekaulike Delima Jr. I'm Irish, Scotch, English, Spanish, French, Portuguese, Chinese, and Hawaiian. And to break it down, I have an eighth Hawaiian and an eighth Irish, half Portuguese, and the others are just bits and pieces here and there. And I was raised in Pauoa Valley by Punch Bowl. And just that neighborhood alone, without me realizing one day I was going to be a comedian, that neighborhood alone just had all the stuff that I needed to build on my career.
Example.
Just by, like my Chinese neighbor, Mrs. Lee, she was my babysitter. So and she was very Chinese, she practiced the Chinese religion and the cultural things. She was doing whatever the Chinese culture at the time did. She participated in, whether it be putting punks outside in the garden for a special day, or going to the graveyard, and we had to help her fold money, Chinese money, and she popped firecracker for certain occasions.
And she spoke Chinese.
And she spoke Chinese. And so to pick it up, she used to speak to her aunt, Mrs. Lum, when she came over. We were just playing toys, and I was little. I was 3 years old, 4 years old, and I would hear this Chinese language, and I started to imitate it. She's still alive. And
hopefully she's going to see this program.
Yeah,
she's going to see you talking about
it.
She's
90-something years old, and still, really with it. She has I have a nice conversation with her every year when I go for Chinese New Year. I visit her, and so she tells me little stories about me, how I behaved when I was at that age, and I was fun. So anyway, so I just get like Chinese language, for example. I don't know what I'm saying, but I can go for an hour.
It simulates the sounds as if it is as if you were speaking Chinese.
And I just tell people, well, if they don't understand it and they're Chinese, I say, well, there's 876 dialects in the Chinese countries and China. And so I'm just speaking the one they don't know.
So by osmosis then, as a little kid, you listen, and then you reproduced it.
The Japanese neighbors and their nani wabushi singing on radio, and the Filipino man across the street teaching me all the different plants and the foods that he used to make. He was a good cook, and he made a lot of desserts. So I learned all of this, and it all stayed in my head. And I was interested. That's the thing. I was interested in. And so, like budbud, peche peche, badoya, koskoron, bibingka, all those desserts. He used to make them all for us. And so I had a rich childhood loaded with knowledge of all the different ethnics that were prime here in Hawaii in my younger days.
So you were at the peak of multi-ethnic growing up, if you will.
Yeah, they all on my block. We had like 16 homes, Pakuana Street, and every house had a different ethnic, and all of the houses had kids, okay, and grandparents. So all my friends had grandparents, and so I'd spend time at their houses, and I hear the grandparents talking in Pidgin or in their languages. Mrs. Kim down the street, her grandson hung out with us, and yeah, so That was my childhood.
But did you do that to make them laugh, or that's something that later on? When's the first? Let's go back to the first audience you had.
First
the
audience.
laughter.
Okay. Well, my first audience was, I'd say, Mr. and Mrs. Yanishige and my family.
The neighbors and your family.
My Japanese neighbor. Because I tried out singing that Japanese, you know, that Japanese, style. It was on TV, and I imitated it for them one day. And they just thought it was the funniest thing. So then I went home, and my family gets together every so often, and I do crazy things. You know, I dress up as whatever, you know, a Japanese samurai, and I do that, and they bust out laughing. And my friends, I would always do some kind of a character for my friends. If it was Superman, or it was, you know, the Samoan king, or whatever it is, you know, we would have a lot of fun. I can't remember details, but yeah. So I was always wanting to act, I guess, and I put on costumes every so often, and it was always in time and place, though. I was fortunate that.
So did you do it in high school? Did you do drama, or
no? In elementary school, I participated in plays, you know, and
with humor.
With humor, they put me as a clown all the time.
Okay.
Sisters, the nuns are there. They knew that I was, you know, happy, and also.
So you went to a Catholic school.
I went to Catholic school. Yes, Franciscan sisters from Manitowoc, Wisconsin. They were our teachers. And then I went on to Damien High School, taught by the Irish Christian Brothers for 4 years. At Damien, I was like the MC. Brother recognized my talent right away. And so he eventually, I took over another guy who was moving on. So he put me as the MC. I did my language imitations, you know, and jokes, you know, whatever jokes I had at the time.
So Damien was the beginning.
That was when they put me on the mic. Yeah, I went on the mic. And then I also led Cheers. They put me on the mic for Cheers. I was a part of the pep squad. We did like gymnastics and stuff like that. The brother asked me when I first went to Damien to play football, because I was, you know, 5'11", 190-pound Portuguese Hawaiian kid. My mom didn't want, because I was too bad luck with sports. I got hurt a lot, so she thought that wouldn't be good. And so then they talked about, brother said, okay, well, I can see you can do. You have the gift of gab. I remember him saying that. And but you know, the thing that I'm so happy about is that I never got scolding for performing. You know, if you call it that, whenever you tell a joke to someone, whenever you put on a costume, whether you're 3 years old or 90 years old, you're performing. And
you never give a bad joke?
I never did. I never. The nuns, when I was. You know, I think what it was my mom and dad were strict. And so they set the rules, you know, from when we were real little. When we can laugh, and I mean, you know, when it's time to clown around and when it's time to be serious. And that saved me, I think, throughout my
It sounds
career.
like then, from the Damien stage and the microphone that you were handed, you were on your way to being an entertainer and a comedian. But you went to school to become a priest, I understand.
Yes.
Where did you go to school, and how did you go from comedian to priest? Or
well, see, the thing is, they never called me a comedian, but they enjoyed what I did. But I was also strong Catholic, and you know, my mom and dad were, and they were great examples of volunteering. They helped out the nuns at Sacred Hearts Academy and convent, because my sisters went there. My brother and I went to Damien, Cathedral in Damien, and we belonged to Blessed Sacrament Church. And this putting all those organizations along with the Catholic Portuguese Club up at Punch Bowl, my mom and dad helped out with all the different fundraising functions, and we went along, you know. And so that was an example that I never forgot, you know. And so whenever there's an opportunity and I can and am able to, then I would, you know, I volunteer. My Christian background is strong Mom and Dad participated in all the Catholic functions, the masses, the rosaries, whatever they had at Blessed Sacrament Church, the whole family went. And so when sister, and because I guess the fact that the Catholic religion has, you know, I can't think of the word right now, but it attracted me, all the, what is the word?
The ambience, the rituals.
The rituals, all of that stuff, you know, that they had, I was attracted to it. And so when the sisters were talking about it in Cathedral, about vocations, they brought up many different ones, but they emphasized Catholic priest. And so a lot of boys went and tried out at the seminary. Not many, of course, went on. During the years, these people drop off because
you
they
graduated,
realized.
right?
I got up to diaconate. I got my Master's of Divinity, and so came back here.
St. Patrick's Seminary and University
Menlo
in
Park, California.
Menlo Park, California.
Yeah, and so I that's where I got my MDiv. Came back, and I was already entertaining in the seminary. I was entertaining during the summer with the Catholic Youth Organization. We had a group called the Hui o Hawaii, and they put me on the mic. I played ukulele. I took ukulele lessons too when I was a kid, and piano lessons for a little bit. And so singing was also part of our family. We used to all get together after dinner, and my sisters would be the rhythm section with the pots and pans, and my brother would be with the washboard. My dad played the spoons, and I played the ukulele, and my mom played the piano. And so I learned a lot of Hawaiian songs from my dad, and just fun songs. You know, we used to do that as a family growing up, so I guess all of this, you know, was part of me, you know, entertaining. That was part of me. That's the gift that I had. But this religious part, I wanted to try out. But during the summertime, Catholic Youth Organization, Summer Fun, Summer Camp program, they depended on me or asked me to entertain the kids. And we also had a group of teenagers, which I was at the time 19 years old. And we used to do hulas, and they hire us out to help the CYO and the performances all around the place. I was the MC, I was a singer, I was a joke teller, you know, in between Hawaiian songs, in between numbers when they had to change. So I had all that training, but still I wanted to become a priest, and it was strong, that feeling, all the way until then when they really tell you, you gotta make your mind up, you know, you have, it's a lifetime commitment. And I'm one that when I commit, I follow all the way. And so I didn't have that feeling inside of, okay, this is the final step. Am I going to make it? Because I was doing all these other entertaining things during my 8 years in the seminary and my 4 years in the high school, you know, and it was getting stronger and stronger, and I really enjoyed it.
Did you run into Father Guido Sarducci?
No, I saw him on TV, but
I thought maybe he got inspired by you, or you inspired by him.
No, I was just inspired by my community, by my family, by my neighbors, and all that. That's what inspired me. But comedians, Carducci was more later on in my life when I saw him. But comedians that I enjoy.
Who are your heroes? Yeah, who your idols?
Red Skelton, Lucille Ball, Three Stooges, Bob Hope, Jack Benny, and George Burns are the ones that
classics.
I just loved them. They were all great. And my mom and dad, of course, they had rules. We had to get our homework done, you know, but that drove me even more to get my homework done so that I could watch these different comedians on TV in the evening.
Frank, those that you mentioned have really some super one-liners.
Yeah.
How is your process of creativity? Case in point, when I first got elected, the war broke out in Iraq with Saddam Hussein. You entertained the legislature that year with a so damn insane routine. How did you come up with that?
So damn insane I am, so damn insane I am, I walked into the country next door, just like I did 7 years before, and everyone. Okay, and then I went on. That's from this song popped in my head. Like I was just, sitting one day and thinking of what can I do for the Super Ferry,
Oh,
and
okay.
then Gilligan's Island came to mind. Just sit right back and you hear a tale, a story of a faithful ship. So I said, oh, that would be. I just tell the saga. I tell the story. For or against? No, just tell the story. What's going on? Furlough was another one. That was Deo Furlough. So that Deo popped into my mind, and so the song was born, the parody, as they call it. And so all the way along, I would just something would just come to my mind, and then I start jotting down some notes.
I mean, is it when you're walking or
this
any time of the day? Because
sitting in the car
before we
listening to the
started
radio.
today, you said you swim every day.
I do.
That's
And
that's
that's
a
what you
commitment.
think too, That's when things run through my head as well. It's when I'm swimming, I think about a lot.
So
of
what is
stuff.
creativity? What is humor? Let's go back to some of
Well,
the basics.
I
How do
think-
you define humor? People think you're probably, in an ethnic sense, probably the funniest guy in the world. You can make more fun of more groups. I mean, some countries have some people who are funny about a couple of maybe ethnicities. You are across the board. I'm building an international image out of you because I don't think there's anybody in any other place that can do what you've done. But what is the humor? How do you do this without offending people?
Well, it's
And-
surprise. I think that's the main word for every comedian will tell you the same thing. You got to surprise the audience, okay? But I think my humor is more imitation of the different ethnics. Imitating.
Back to your neighbors then,
sounds.
you said,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's real. I participated with them, and I made all of them laugh. I never forget one time. I don't know how old I was, 5, and I got cardboard box, and I put I put construction paper, and I built it up like this, and then I put oranges and candles and manapua or cookies or whatever I had with me, and I made an altar, and then I found a picture of I think it was one of the play dolls. That the girls that whoever Mrs. Lee babysat. I got one of the play doll things, and I put it on the top, because she had an altar. You see, and with a lady, Chinese lady, it's a goddess, I guess, of that religion. And when she saw that, she couldn't believe it. She started to laugh. And another time, I made a Chinese dragon out of cardboard and construction paper. And I got my mom's quilt, colorful quilt, and I had my brother make the tail, and I was the head. And I had all my friends that Mrs. Lee babysat, and they played the pots and pans, and we went around on Chinese New Year, because I saw, this was when I was like 9, 10, and because I saw what happens with the Chinese lion dance, they put money in. So I thought, I can make some money. But the neighbors only gave candy, they didn't give money.
You also do a wicked Mrs. Marcos. How did the
yes.
Marcos?
Okay, when the
program?
Marcos came to Hawaii, they were on TV every day. Like I said, whenever there's something happening, and I just kind of think to myself, is this okay to have fun with, to make light of, There's a lot of stuff that I didn't even touch, that happened to us in Hawaii, because I felt it was just too painful. But comedy is supposed to help lighten the load, And so the Marcoses were in town, and she was on TV every day, and she had the same dress, and they interviewed her to death. I mean, it was, constantly with her. The cameras all over her. And so I said, I got to do something. This lady is this is household name. She's in our living rooms every day. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And the joke was shoes. So I said, that's light. I can just have fun with that, the shoes. And same outfit with, put the dark glasses on and a wig and so forth. And, you can look like her to a point. And Jim Neighbors loved it. He came to my show. He used to come all the time when I was at the noodle shop, and he really liked it. So he knew her, and he brought her to the show. And I didn't know that. It was a surprise, and I wanted to die. But the show must go on, right? So I just did the song. I left my shoes in my Manila. And after the show, she's an entertainer. She hung out with comedians. She hung out with singers and so forth, through the years. So that's why she knew Jim. And so open-minded, and came to the show and loved it. She thought it was great.
And she's now running for re-election in the Congress in the Philippines. At 86 years old, she's still going. Just
wow.
to know that you've encouraged her by giving that legacy in Hawaii.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of legacy, one of the more serious things that I think people need to know about is not only did Lex Brody at the other part of his career as a businessman go into the schools, get on the Board of Education, Frank Delima has done phenomenal things in his Frank Delima student enrichment program. And this is something everybody needs to know about. He's the funniest guy, but he's also the most serious guy because of education. If there's anything we need, Frank, is a better educational system in helping our kids. Give us an overview of that Frank Delima visitation. 350 schools every 2 years or something?
Yes, what my purpose was when I first started in my career and did not make it in the seminary and participated in the Catholic Youth Organization Summer Fun Summer Camp program. I learned what kids love, and I learned a lot of skits and songs that I saw great reaction from the kids, and that stayed with me. And I thought, okay, that's good, but I'm starting out in my career. And so my career started to build quickly with Lucille, my comedy song. What, Lucille, you going to leave me now? So that established me almost 2 years into my career, which is very early. And so then I felt that there was something more I had to do with my life, that the religious part, the spiritual part of me was not satisfied. There had to be something more. And so I was just thinking, maybe I should work with kids, and so I talked to my cousin, Charlie Arruda, on Maui. I was staying at the Maui Beach to do shows on the weekend. And I said, I just sit here all day during the week. After I advertise on the radio in the morning, I'm doing nothing. Is there a school around? So I went to Kahului Elementary. The principal was open-minded because, some people were afraid of comedians back then,
Yes.
And so he had 800 kids out in the lawn with a PA system set up for me. And then I said, what am I going to do? But I went up there, I think on my feet. Thank God. I have that as a gift as well. And that helps me in my comedy and in my shows. And so I went up there. I had all this stuff in my head, and it just all came out, flowed out nicely. The kids loved it. Autograph session after. And then that was it. I thought, okay, I satisfied myself. But my cousin, the principal there, loved it. So he asked, he talked to all the other principals, or they asked him, well, how do you get Frank Delima? And so following year, 16 schools was on the list when I went back to Maui.
Oh.
And then it went from island to island, and eventually Oahu. And in the beginning, the message was just about, study hard, right? Eventually, I got to include subject matters, like the subject matter that I'm talking to the kids about from K to 8 is, being responsible, focusing in the classroom, and I give them personal experience.
You say that in a serious way or with humor?
I say serious
that's pretty
first.
Heavy stuff.
I say it. I explain what focus is, and then I give them an example, a funny example.
Oh, okay.
And I do skits like, okay, this, okay, now is your hand following your finger, and focusing on something like me, my face, do you see? And then I just make little funny things about it. And I said, and so focusing is important. I had a problem with it when I was a kid. They call it ADD, I guess. But I was daydreaming a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, I was daydreaming all the time, and that helped me in my career. And so I just talked to the kids about my experiences with this focusing, and I said that you focus, you're gonna get further ahead, and you have to practice it. You got to learn it. Also, Aloha Spirit. I ask the kids, I say, how many of you, there's 3 questions that, how many of you want to graduate from high school? You know, and I always get 100% hands go up, just like that. Boom. And then I say, okay, how many of you want to live to be 80 and still boogie? Everybody's hand goes up again. And they bust out laughing because I say boogie, right? So I talk about health, exercise, sleep, food, amount of food, and you know, just going through this really quickly, about 5 minutes I spend on each subject.
And how long is the total?
20 minutes.
Oh,
yeah.
So 20-minute spiel? And
I just go boom, boom, boom. No, I just
okay,
hit
that's
it. I
rapid
go,
fire then.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's rapid fire. And then the last part is how many of you would love to live in Hawaii and it would be completely fulfilled with only aloha? And all their hands went up again. And this is all the way to 8th grade. You know, they want it, and I show them, I tell them very simple steps of how to get it.
Howdy.
And I sing songs, like the health song. I do the beef stew and rice. It's Zippy's commercial, Zippy's menu to Beethoven's Fifth. Beef stew and rice, beef stew and rice. And I talk to them about, you know, the type of food that we love, you know, in Hawaii. But how are you going to eat that? I mean, some people, it damages them, you know. And so I just show them how.
So Frank, you've put a lot of your time into building the youth of Hawaii.
I try to give them
an admirable thing.
Yeah.
Now, because we've run sort of late, and I know you got to catch a cab. There's a remembrance of when you're gone. What do you want people to remember you by, Frank?
Well, I want them to remember me as the guy that helped them to enjoy life. That's what I like.
Help them enjoy life.
Yeah,
Not with
enjoy
humor,
life.
but to help them enjoy life in
Yeah.
generic terms.
Enjoy life and be you know, better person to be successful. Yeah, because a lot of kids saw me and in the schools all these years. So I hope that that's what they remember.
Thank you for all that you've done. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, and
yeah.
I know it's time to run, and I know a lot of you are going to appreciate what this man has done not only for our funny bones, but for our kids and for those in the school. Frank, thank you so much on behalf of the people of Hawaii.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
having me on. Aloha.
Aloha, everybody. See you again.